Hello and welcome to New York City Nature News. We are back. We're glad to be back. We're sorry we took such a long hiatus. Fun fact, Ace Frehley was my favorite member of KISS. I used to dress up like him. It was a whole thing. You had to be there. There will not be pictures. There is a lot of New York City nature news to cover, so we're going to get right into it with this week's headlines. Here in New York City, it's the season of lightning bugs. In the evening around 8 p.m., if there's nearby lawn, you're likely to see the males glow as they fly by, signaling to females. This past week, there's been a daytime observation of common eastern firefly. It was found on milkweed florets in Brooklyn. Photinus borealis was seen on the flowers of Asclepias tuberosa, which had been planted in a garden. Photinus is at least one of 5 known species of lightning bugs to have a relationship with milkweed. The beetles gain access to the nectar by sipping from a stigmatic slit. Research done by Fast and Fast, published in 2014, talks about the 5 different species of lightning bugs. This is the first report describing the milkweed-firefly relationship. And of course, as with all fireflies, they are susceptible to pesticide use. Taking a look at our local nature calendar, what's happening phenologically this week in New York City? We're seeing the last blooms on buttonbush, Cephalanthus occidentalis in Pelham Bay Park in the Bronx. And we're catching the first male and female florets of eastern Gama Grass, Apoaceae, Tripsicum dactyloides in Wolf's Pond Park in Staten Island. For this week's wildlife sightings, it's been a banner week for black lights, white sheets. Yes, that's right, we're talking about moths, and a lot of them were found recently in Staten Island. Lesser grapevine looper moth, Walsingham's grass tube-worm moth, and a red-lipped green lacewing. Finally, news from the publication The City. Parks budget devastated for next fiscal year. When running for office, Eric Adams promised that as mayor, he would grow the Parks Department budget and give them at least 1% of the city's overall budget. But as fiscal year 2024 came to a close on June 30th, that budget actually got smaller. Instead, he allocated the least amount of money to the Parks Department that's been seen in the last decade. The Parks Department is getting $20 million less funding for the upcoming year than this past year, even as the city's budget grew by $5 billion for 2025. Other major U.S. cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Chicago allocate 1.5 to 4% of their budgets to parks. Starving New York City parks through this budget means the loss of entry-level jobs, recreation center disrepair, and lack of natural area management. Parks are vital to the fabric of our urban lives for so many reasons. And given the current heat wave, the trees in these parks offer respite, shade, and cooler temperatures. Of course, the hardest hit will be neighborhood parks in low-income areas who don't have conservancies to help them raise funds. Meanwhile, the same cash-strapped city is spending nearly $175,000 to change the slogan on police patrol cars. New NYPD vehicles will have a new slogan applied as they enter the fleet. For the cars that have been completed so far, it's an extra cost of $173,750. Food for thought. That's New York City Nature News. I'm Marielle Anslone. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back again next week. Promise.